Hi, good morning. Thanks everybody for coming out. I'm Captain Doug Foster. I am the commander of the Tucson Police Department Central Investigations Division. I'm going to give you a quick overview this morning of the status of the investigation of the U of A house party shooting that occurred in the 3200 block of East 5th Street on April 28, 2024. I'm going to give you a quick overview, like I said, status of the investigation. We'll share some quick video footage that we'd like to share with you and the community. And I'll wrap up with a few summary comments and then take a few questions at the end. On April 28th, at about 1:40 in the morning, we had multiple calls into the 911 center in reference to a shooting at a large house party at that address. Upon TPD officers' arrival on scene at about 1:42, they encountered 20-year-old Erin Jones, a sophomore at the University of Arizona. She was suffering from gunshot trauma. Those officers immediately began life-saving measures and were relieved by Tucson fire paramedics who transported her to Banner University Medical Center, but there she was ultimately pronounced deceased. 3 additional gunshot victims from the party were also located with non-life-threatening injuries. They were treated at various medical facilities around Tucson and were released later that same day. So in terms of the initial TPD investigative response that day, we had approximately 20 TPD detectives and supervisors from our homicide, aggravated assault units, the special investigation section immediately respond out to the scene. In addition, we had officers and detectives from the University of Arizona Police Department immediately respond to the scene to facilitate information sharing, because it was immediately clear that from the onset that many students from the university community were impacted by this incident. Investigators initially estimated the party had over 200 people in attendance. This had been advertised via social media as a football party, and it had coincided with the end of the U of A football team's spring training and their spring football game. The home in question was rented by members of the U of A football team, and a number of football players were in attendance at the party, as well as other U of A students, members of the U of A community, other U of A athletic teams, and members of the general Tucson community. Only 25 witnesses stayed on scene, and they were interviewed that morning of the incident. As the day progressed, multiple crime scene forensics units and technicians responded to map out the entire crime scene, which spanned nearly a mile along 5th Street from Country Club to Alvernon. We collected over 80 shell casings along that crime scene, and it took over 15 hours to interview those people and process that crime scene that day. So in terms of the follow-up over the last few weeks, in those initial days, it was really a massive response and an all-hands-on-deck response to this investigation. We had detectives, professional staff investigators, community service officers from nearly every investigative unit in this building, in all of my CID units, responding to help with the nearly 140 plus interviews that we needed to do to talk to the people that we knew to be at that party, that we had names of, plus the 50 plus 911 callers that we needed to talk to. So there were over 40 investigators that we had doing follow-up phone calls, visits, interviews, etc., to talk to everybody that we could. So, like I say, over the last few weeks, we've conducted 140 interviews of partygoers and neighbors in the area, plus 54 911 callers. And our crime scene, crime lab has been doing extensive analysis of all that ballistic evidence that we collected. Our Crime Gun Intelligence Center has been working to get all of that ballistic evidence, once it's been looked at by the crime lab, to get it entered into ballistics databases to see if there are any connections to prior gun crime incidents to see if we can get any type of lead to prior incidents that would give us leads and have us investigative leads to maybe find other people that we could talk to and get us any sense of who else might have been at that incident that we have not spoken to yet. In addition, we've engaged our partners with the ATF, utilizing their analysts to go through that data and sift through that to see if there are any more investigative leads for follow-up, again, through that ballistic data that we're working with and getting into those national databases. Based on information obtained through this initial round of interviews, we are actively attempting to track down additional persons of interest who we believe do have critical information pertinent to helping us identify those responsible for this tragic incident. We've also done extensive neighborhood canvasses, speaking to neighbors looking for ring camera video or other video to get surveillance footage of the incident, and one that we'd like to share with you now. This video we're about to show you was taken from a surveillance camera located in a business complex at the intersection of Country Club and 5th Street, just a few houses away from the incident location. coming through that parking lot. We believe, as you can see there, that individual was sitting outside of that sedan with what we believe to be possibly a firearm. As you can see, those students or young individuals were basically running for their lives, trying to get away from that vehicle. It was a very chaotic situation. You hear the multiple rounds of volleys of shots being fired back and forth. At this point, we've been unable to identify those individuals. We do not know who those people are. We believe them just to be witnesses or victims at this point. As you see, a number of them were on their phones. We suspect that they may have good video, other photos of that vehicle, of the incident itself, of the incident location more specifically. We would like to ask the public's help in identifying the people in this video if they can. We think that they may have good information to help us in cracking this case. As you can hear in this video, there are multiple volleys of dozens and dozens of rounds of gunfire. Again, we collected over 80 shell casings at this crime scene. The entire incident of gunfire, best we can tell, lasted over 6.5 minutes, running up and down 5th Street over a mile. Youth from our community, youth from our university community, running for their safety, a chaotic, harrowing, frightening situation that no one should have to endure. You can see that these individuals were showing brazen disregard for human life, with suspects indiscriminately shooting throughout the neighborhood from their vehicles. At this point in the investigation, we believe that there was some type of confrontation between groups or individuals who showed up at the party, likely uninvited, maybe not even affiliated with the football team or those that were throwing the party. And this confrontation, whatever it was over, ultimately escalated into this shooting. Now, this speaks to the viral nature that we've seen before with these party shootings, where these parties get out on social media through Snapchat, Instagram, whatever it is, and they go viral. And they get to people who were never intended to get the information about these parties, and people show up unintended at them and uninvited, and bad things happen. And I would just say, as an aside, as we're entering, the graduation party season and the summer, that this is something that we really need to be thinking about, this phenomena and the risks associated with this type of viral nature of how these parties can get out of control. But getting back to this incident at hand, at this point, there is absolutely no indication that Ms. Jones was targeted in any way. We absolutely feel that Erin was simply attending a college party when she was struck by the crossfire of a senseless, brazen, and violent gun crime. Erin's family flew into town the following day and met with department leadership, including myself, the assistant chief, and the primary investigators on the case. And while I won't get into the details of that meeting, I will say that we assured them that we are absolutely putting every last resource into this case. And we have continued to speak with them, especially her mother, on a nearly daily basis with the primary case investigator to ensure them that we are continuing to put every last effort into this case, giving her and them as many updates as we can on the progress of the investigation. Again, we're just asking for the community's help at this point. Again, we are tracking down leads based on this initial investigation. We are doing our part with the leads that we have been able to develop through this initial round of investigations over the first 3 weeks. We've heard that some people in attendance may have some concerns that, this may bring up the fact that there was some underage drinking going on at the party, or it may have some impact on the status, my status at the university, or may have some impact on my scholarship or things like that. That is the least of our concerns when we are talking about a homicide investigation and the death of young Erin Jones. That is not our concern. We need to know what happened here, who was involved, who was present, and how we can get to the bottom of this to bring justice for Erin, peace to her family, and a sense of safety in the Tucson community. We are asking for the community's help, the Tucson community, the university community, and what was Erin's community. You can reach out directly to my detectives. You can report anonymously through 88 Crime. We are looking for cell phone, video, pictures, any information that might give us any break in this case to build into the information that we are already working to work to some resolution on this matter. Anyone who has information can call 911, 88 Crime, or you can contact our homicide unit directly at 520-837-7565. I'm confident that there are numerous people out in our community that know who the shooters are and have information that can help us break this case. We're asking them to please come forward and help make our community a better place. I'll open it up now to a few questions. Ms. Murillo?
My understanding that it's possible that the people who started this barrage of gunfire, that they may have not wanted to pay a cover charge to get into this party, where they were charging the males a $10 cover charge. Is there any truth to that?
I've heard that rumor. I can't get into the specifics of the interviews that we've done at this point, but I've heard indication that that may have been something to do with some of the confrontations, but I can't confirm that at this point. Yes, ma'am?
What has the collaboration been like with UAPD, and what is their role in the investigation?
So the initial collaboration was excellent. Like I say, they were there the first, from the start. And I can say that, Chief Olson and I go way back. We were cops at the U of A since the mid-90s. We started our careers there together. We were on the phone together at 6:30 the next morning, ensuring that we were on the same page, collaborating, communicating, and that has continued throughout. And so I can assure that our relationship is, the best that it's been in years, and we are collaborating and have met with university administration and the police department throughout.
With the graduations coming and with the parties and all these happening in the UFA area, are you expecting to do something else in that specific area, more vigilance? What do you expect for the next weeks?
Well, historically, we've had, graduation deployments and a heightened patrol presence during the graduation time, and so I don't expect that that'll be any different in terms of the graduation deployments in our patrol divisions, and I know that I've seen that. I, being in investigations, I'm not directly involved in that, but I have seen that the patrol divisions do intend to continue with that, which has been a historical thing annually.
It's our understanding that there were multiple 911 calls about noise coming from this party before the shooting happened. Why was it that TPD didn't respond to the scene before this?
Yeah, so my understanding is that there was a loud party call that came in a little after 11 o'clock, but based on our prioritization system and the information that initially came, it came in just as a loud party. And given the calls that we're holding at the time and the nature of the prioritization system and the resources in the field and the priority calls that they were handling at the time, because there was no indication of violence, fighting, guns at all, where it stood in the prioritization of calls being dispatched at the time, they weren't able to get officers to the scene. There was a follow-up call that came a little later that again gave no indication of any fighting, violence, anything like that. So that was the nature of why we didn't get out there.
Captain, I have a question. Actually, I have two. First one, there was a search warrant that was served, and there was some weapons and some ammunition found. Tell us about that.
My understanding is that I believe, if Sergeant Haynes could confirm, 3 weapons were recovered on the search warrant from the residence?
Yes.
Okay. And beyond that, those are being examined by the crime lab for any indication of use, but beyond that, I don't have any information about the ammunition.
Were these weapons legal?
Yeah. There's no indication that they were illegal or people have a right to possess weapons. There were no prohibited possessors that would not have a right to have possession of those weapons. There's no indication of that. So there was no arrest made with regard to those weapons. But in terms of whether those weapons were involved in this incident, that's going to be a matter of the forensic testing that's still underway.
You individually, been here for a while, you were talking about you and two folks and serving together at UAP. Have you ever seen anything like this in your career? How does this impact you?
Well, referring to Sergeant Haynes again, and I would say that in terms of breadth of the initial investigation, the resources that we poured into this investigation, the amount of time and energy that we're spending it, and in my experience as both an investigator and supervisor, the only other investigation I could put at this level is probably Celis, in terms of investigators, resources, et cetera, that we've dedicated to this is probably that significant.
So we got time for one more question. Be the last one in the back.
Oh, thank you, I appreciate it. This house that they're renting, I don't know how long they have been there, but have there been police calls to that house before? Has this been like known as kind of a rowdy home, or kind of like first party yay?
I don't have that information. Sergeant Haynes, do we have any information on prior?
We're not aware of any.
Okay.
No.
All right, folks, I appreciate it. Captain Foster's time is going to be cut short here. Any kind of follow-up questions, please send them to us at the PIO office.